A lot of finance leaders work long weeks, but still feel like the important stuff keeps slipping. In this video, I'll share 8 questions that I use to plan my week, and by the end, you'll have a real practical way to take back control of your time. Hi, my name's Alysha Randall. I'm a CFO and also an author of Financial Leadership Fundamentals, How to Become a CFO in a Startup or Scale Up. And if that sounds interesting to you, please click on the subscribe button below. So I can't claim this. I read an interesting post from Justin Welsh on, he's a marketer rather than a finance person, but also a business owner. And he suggested that you ask yourself these 8 questions relatively regularly so that you can really transform your week. So I've implemented this and I've actually found it to be quite useful in freeing up my time. So I thought I'd share his suggestions and my take on it as well. As leaders, working in startup and fast growth businesses definitely can use extra time in the day. So I have a monthly meeting in my calendar at the end of each month. It was this morning actually, and in the description I have all of the below questions and I go through that each month. Sometimes I do it more regularly in the month. It just depends on what's happening. You can certainly do weekly if you like. I prefer monthly and then sometimes bi-weekly. So have a look at the below and the next 8 questions and see which ones work for you. So the first one is, what can I remove from my calendar? So in order to do this effectively, it's worthwhile having a look at both your long-term and short-term goals. So what do you really want to achieve over the coming months and years? And then have a look at your meetings. So will these meetings help you and your company achieve them? And if not, you may want to think about whether they're worthwhile keeping them or not. So sometimes these meetings are for other departments to achieve their goals and therefore the company's overall vision. And so it may be necessary for them. So it may be worthwhile keeping those. But sometimes they are just placeholders that aren't really necessarily. So see if they can be cancelled or at a minimum push back so that you can focus on that you want to achieve. It's probably worthwhile also mentioning that if you have one-to-ones with your team, that is definitely something that you want to keep. You want to maintain that relationship and also with your business partnering. So rather than canceling your meeting, you may want to think about what to take to those meetings so that they help you achieve your and your company's goals. Number 2 is what's on my calendar that can be automated. So with most of you using the various AI tools and what have you, and there's more tools being introduced regularly, it's maybe worthwhile reviewing what you can automate even further. So if there's a 5-minute task that you have to do every week or every month, it might only take 5 minutes and it might take you 10 minutes to automate, but it's then definitely worth automating. It's kind of that short-term pain for long-term gain. So these are the interesting tasks that can really add up over time. So other ideas is I'm using Firefly's AI to help me transcribe all my meetings. So it does exactly that, transcribes the meetings live. Lots of people use note takers. It downloads a description and it also gives you actions and jobs that need doing. So I also use it for minute taking if I need to. So I will take those actions and I will encourage the team to do those and I'll follow up on those actions. So instead of note taking, of course, I do that using AI. So that's an example. A lot of people do those things now, but there are plenty of things that you can look at automating. Number 3 is what's something that should be delegated but isn't. So similar to the above, but does need a human. Again, only takes you 10 minutes a month, would take twice as long to train someone, but over the longer term, these tasks are really worthwhile. Here I find Loom quite a good tool here. I do the training via Loom and then the person I'm handing it over to, it's their forever resource, which again can be reused again and again. So you might show them live and then send them a Loom, or you might just record them. If you're showing them how to do something over Zoom or Google Meets or Teams, just record that video so that then they've got the instructions live. Again, you can use your AI to transcribe that and turn that into a document. So the step by step can be both written and video. Number 4 is there anything on my calendar that isn't urgent and important? So more of a continuation of point 1. However, sometimes the pressure is really on and you have a big deadline or an area that really needs 100% of your focus and you just can't distract from that. So this is an instance where I would do these 8 questions more often than just at the end of the month. So take a look at your calendar and push back what you can, and really don't hesitate to push up to a month back or even more. A perfect example here is a financial due diligence due to a fundraise or an impending fundraise, or there's a budget deadline that you need to meet before a board meeting. So absolutely push things out and don't hesitate to do that. There is no point in going to meetings that aren't urgent and then affect your time to hit the deadline. Number 5, can any important meetings be 50% shorter? So pre-COVID, which was a while ago now, I suppose, but my default meetings was always an hour. This is probably because meetings were face-to-face. It took people 5 minutes to actually arrive. It took 5 to 10 minutes for small talk and chatting about holidays and the weather. We are in the UK after all. Or I am rather. And so it might take a while to actually start the meeting. And these kind of meetings are very important when developing relationships, and actually working remotely does take some of this relation building away. So just be mindful of that as a side caveat, especially as leaders. However, if I'm doing a virtual meeting and the time pressure is on, then the default is now 30 minutes, sometimes even 25 to 15 minutes. And I aim to be out of there in 20 minutes, even if it's just information sharing kind of meeting. Number 6 is how can I get off the computer more? So this goes back to your creative brain and problem solving abilities. They absolutely increase when you have more headspace. So I work remotely a lot, so I always include works in my calendar around lunchtime. I often do podcasts. However, I am increasingly going on walk without any gadget, and I'm surprised how many solutions or ideas pop up in my mind when I'm taking a stroll. You might find, for me personally, if I'm going on a holiday, particularly if I'm having a 2-week holiday, I would say the first week I absolutely would just tune off and I don't think about work, I don't think about anything, and I just let my brain not think basically for a week. And then without consciously planning for it, I always find the second week I start coming up with ideas and plans and ways of doing things, and like I'm actually really excited and my brain's really buzzing. And if you find that you're the same, then it's just proving to yourself that having that space in your head is actually better for thinking work. And so as finance leaders, thinking work is really important. So whether it's going for a walk, doing meditation, or something every single day, you may find that you are better at problem solving and coming up with ideas. Number 7 is how can I maximize fun time? I quite like this. So, balance, it's easier said than done. I think my only addition to this topic is it's written a lot about ensuring that you have fun things to look forward to in your week and not just work, TV, eat, sleep, repeat. So work out what you love to do and how can you add more of this into your week. So interesting, I was speaking to someone the other day saying, oh, the kind of date nights that I had with my husband have dropped off a little bit. I'd really like to introduce them again. And this person said to me, imagine your child was sick, touch wood, and they needed a 1 hour treatment every single day. Now, it didn't matter what you had going on, you would make time for that because it was really important, and everything else would move, and miraculously, you would have that 1 hour per day to do this treatment for your child because it was urgent. Doing something like date night with your husband, or spending time with your children, or doing your hobby, or going to the gym, or whatever it is, should almost be dealt with in the same way that you can just fit it in. You just need to move things around, make it a priority, and fit it in. And I know it's easier said than done, but actually, if you take it in the extreme version, like I said, with a child being sick, you can see how you could actually make things work. So I know that's a bit of a roundabout way of saying it, but work out what's really important to you, not just family time, children time if you have children, but also you time. So whether it is going to the gym 3 times a week, or whether it is playing paddle, or whether it's going to have cocktails with your friends, whatever it is, try and just make time for it and not just say you're too busy. And number 8 is there anything missing? So anything else that is missing in your week when you take a look at it. So is there time to take a lunch break? Do you have thinking time in your diary, or is it just meetings and firefightings? And are you going to hit your deadlines, and have you allowed extra time for it? So I would always say, particularly in startups and scale ups, but probably corporations are the same, everything always takes longer than you think. I know for me personally, I thrive in the startup environment. I've been doing it for 20 years. And even now, I still think I can do things really quickly, which I probably can compared to, say, 20 years ago, but it always takes longer than I think I can. So I always try and put buffers in for extra time for everything. So really allow your calendar to have that rather than it just being jam-packed full of meetings and firefightings, no thinking time, and no room for error. That is just too stressful to think about. So anyway, so hopefully that's really useful for you. It's just taking a step back a little bit and making sure that your calendar is working for you and not against you. And you don't dread every time you open up your calendar in the morning and think, oh God, what have I got coming up today? If you want to be a confident and skilled finance leader over the next 12 months, then I've got 3 steps for you. The first one is to subscribe to this channel. I do a video every single Thursday and I talk about how to be a confident and skilled finance leader within a startup or scale up. Number 2 is to have a look at financial leadership fundamentals, how to become a CFO in a startup or scale up, where I have actions at the end of every single chapter that you can implement in your role immediately. And the third one is to take a look at our FLF course program, where we go through everything in a lot more detail. We have lots of templates, lots of videos, and of course, Q&A sessions every single month with myself where you can ask me lots of questions about how to implement all your learnings into your role. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, then please click on the subscribe button or check out the links below. Otherwise, I'll see you in next week's video. Cheers.